Hello, today I just want a little bit more of an explanation to what we were doing in school today and how it affects the students on the assessment. Students were asked to compare decimals. They really didn't have any problems when we were comparing one decimal to another, but in this situation we found that students were really struggling with looking at numbers in different types of forms. Sometimes it's expanded form, unit form, or even in word form, and especially when those numbers aren't typical numbers that we would see in our place value system. So what we're looking to do is to give kids a good concrete understanding using place value blocks to understand how we can build numbers to compare them afterwards. So in this situation, we're going to look at wholes, units, we'll call those flats, these rods, which are considered tenths, and these units, which are considered 1 unit of 100. So if we look at them on top, you can see the whole being the flat, 1/10 of it being the rod, and then 1 unit being 1/100th of the actual whole. That's really important for kids to be able to see conceptually because they've been using place value blocks now in a different way growing up. When we're dealing with whole numbers, this would be considered 100, this would be considered 10, this would be considered 1. So that was a transition for kids this year. So let's build this fraction of this decimal up. We're not going to be building up this one because it's already in decimal form. So now we're just going to make this in decimal form. So we know if we want 24 tenths, we would start putting out tenths in front of us. But after a while, kids start to realize that's a lot of tenths. So we need to start thinking about what we know about numbers in order to say, hey, we don't need to put out 24. We know things about numbers, and especially with place value blocks. Right here, we know that this whole has 10 tenths based on the 10 columns that would be within here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we realize that we have 24 tenths. So if one flat is equal to 10, a second flat would be equal to 20, and then we would have our 4 tenths left over from the 24. Now this is just part of the process. This is going to help us when we come up with our decimals, but we still have to consider those 548 hundredths. Now we've already talked a little bit about understanding how many tenths are in one whole, but we could also think about how many hundredths are in one whole. And we know that there is 100 hundredths in one whole. So if I have 548 hundredths, that means I still have another 5 flats to build on. 3, 4, and 5. So when I take those all together, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wholes by which to talk about. It's going to be a little bit off camera, but I want to make sure we're able to see it. I've got 7 wholes. Now, we still have these 4 tenths, but we still have 48 hundredths that we have to think about. When I think of 48 hundredths, we can talk about the decimal. We say it like we write it, 48 hundredths. So kids would recognize that there are 4 tenths in 48 hundredths, and then they have 8 hundredths left over. So now we've got ourselves everything we need, and we've already done all of our conversions. We've got 7 wholes and 8 tenths and 8 hundredths. Now that we've successfully built this using a model, kids are able to compare 788 hundredths to 789 hundredths, and we can say that that is larger. 788 hundredths is less than 789 hundredths. Hope this helps explain a little bit about what we were doing today. Kids did a great job, and hopefully going in tomorrow with a little bit more practice, they'll be ready to look at that test a second time. Thanks so much.